Hey guys, it's Ken. Ubisoft. What's up with? If you're not already aware, Ubisoft is hitting rock bottom. You might be scratching your head going, but Siege was pretty fun, or remember Assassin's Creed? Or maybe you're still wandering around alone in The Division or playing Ghost Recon and not aware of the situation. In January 2023, Ubisoft reported a disastrous quarter, leading to a review of its outlook and the cancellation of 3 games. These were likely all potential live service games, judging by their habits the last decade, and I viewed this as an attempt to focus in on Skull and Bones to turn 4 potential hits into one sure thing.
We're overburdened, Captain.
Captain, what can we toss?
But we all know how that turned out. To add on to this, the CEO, co-founder, and all-around out-of-touch Yves Guillemot sort of put the blame on employees, which pushed the French into a strike and demand more money. Hon. Ubisoft then went on to perform layoffs, which were probably badly needed as these AAA game companies tend to bloat just as bad as social media companies, yet with a quarter of the clout and a tenth of the revenue. In 2024, their releases included Prince of Persia, Ubisoft W by the way, X-Defiant, Beyond Good and Evil Remaster, again, Star Wars Outlaws, Just Dance 2025, Skull and Bones. Yeah. So to say they're down bad in a dog shit way is an understatement. All caught up? Cool. On to the main point. Ubisoft. What can do? A common point I've seen people making is that Ubisoft should immediately cancel whatever slop is loaded up after AC Shadows and reinvent themselves into a Ubisoft those Frenchies and Canadians can be proud of. But that's not possible. This is what we saw them try to do back in 2023 with the cancellation of 3 projects and internal review of spending habits. You can't do that twice, and if we're being honest, that was already their second, if not third, fourth, fifth time, if we include the 4 cancellations only 6 months earlier. The scale at which Ubisoft spends money on games means that anything within a year or 2 of release is already a cost sink they can't afford to just write off as they go into hibernation. They need some kind of investment stimulus to keep them afloat during that time, and if the numbers on current microtransaction profit aren't enough, they have to keep making new game sale and post-game microtransaction income, or that hibernation period is going to become a lot more permanent. When adjusted for inflation, this is how much some of their successful games cost to make. Watch Dogs, $88 million. Future Soldier, $86 million. The Division, $64 million. AC2, $34 million. These are quite old, by the way. These newer games are harder to estimate costs, but estimates alone see Ubisoft spending between $500 million and over $1 billion on their 2024 releases alone if you add in marketing costs, which have been exorbitantly high apparently. Skull and Bones cost them somewhere up to $850 million. Even spread out over years, this is a fuck ton of money to be spending on a total flop. What a company the size of Ubisoft and in such dire straits as Ubisoft has to do is pump this shit out as fast as possible. Ship that garbage. Take whatever you have, finish it quick and cheap, and push it out the door. The development focus here has to be on limited content and limited bugginess, which any game developer knows go hand in hand for most games. The more you add in, the more bugs that are likely to appear and the more work it takes to address all of them. Cut shit out. Now I'm being simplistic with that, but at its core, that's exactly what happens. Ubisoft tries to plug so much into these games that they cannot keep them down. And if you are already spending so much money on these games, why try this? Deliver core experiences with no filler. Charge full price for them and negotiate with Microsoft to get that shit on Game Pass day 1. Strategically put it on sale for what a game like this should cost about a month in. Or, if you release near a holiday sale, do it even sooner. You can't be releasing buggy filler games, but people are much less critical of games that feel like they fulfill a purpose but just cost a little too much. Will your reputation take a short hit? Yes, but your reputation is already in the garbage. Gamers are much less forgiving on companies that come back stronger. Okay? They will not fault you when they buy a game on sale that they actually kind of enjoy, and your games in the future are better. AC Mirage is way too short for an AC game. On first playthrough, it made me feel shorted, like I'd been sold half a product, but half a product I genuinely wanted the rest of. And when I later saw it selling for $20, I said that's the perfect price, and I recommended it to people at that price specifically. How many times have you heard, wait until it's on sale? People will overlook a short experience if it's worth the price, and if you time it right, you'll still grab those people who buy day one and cash in an extra $20 from their stupidity. Do. Cut them fools. Shut down those fucking studios. Now! Take a hint from Kevin O'Leary and Doge and a classroom full of teenagers choosing to buy TikTok fads instead of their grandmother's medication. Cut, cut, cut. Look at this fucking list. This is way too many studios, and that's not even all of them. Cut off your hands and feet to save your brain. You have 2 studios in Ukraine? Get those people out of there. Seriously, what are they even doing with this money? You're hiring a React developer in Ukraine? Stop making websites and fire 95% of your web developers. Nobody will give a shit about your websites when you go bankrupt. Do I like seeing people lose their jobs? No. Is it an economic reality that it has to happen from time to time as the never-ending cycle of economic struggle and bad decision hit everyone? Yes. Give these people good reviews and send them out the door before the building crumbles. You don't owe them shit if there's not a union stopping you. Do. Focus up, nerds. Cut out the shitty single-player multi-menus. They're just extra dev time nobody asked for. When I want to play Odyssey, I click play on Odyssey. It's that fucking easy. I know this multi-menu costs you thousands of dollars, you wasteful piece of shit company. Now, I don't know how exactly, but I'm sure this point specifically will save your company. I'm right? How no? I know that I'm right because Ubisoft are already doing some of this. Let's take a look at their 2024 to 25 earnings report statement. While I take pride in laughing at the net booking numbers presented here as it's exactly what they deserve, I also have to admit that this is an extremely realistic take. See how they compare AC Shadow's pre-orders with Odyssey, specifically stating that Odyssey is the second most successful AC game? It did a lot for them. They understand that sales are going to be lower than they should be. Excluding Mirage, which was admittedly a smaller game with a smaller development team, these new AC games have outsold the last each time, but data shows this one will continue that trend. They pinpoint the reduction in fixed cost of 200 million euros thanks to the closure of 4 studios. Since this release, they've had even more layoffs. They are cutting, which is exactly what needs to be done. Your failure to follow instructions will be your downfall.
Not help but feel that the world of Assassin's Creed Shadows was made for Naoe. It's her playground, and Yasuke just happens to be in there too.
If you've seen the AC Shadows preview gameplay, you'll know they aren't following the most important of my suggestions, focusing on core content. I think the 2 character design was a good idea to bring a new gameplay mechanic to market and offset the AC isn't changing idea that's been around for a decade now. But the base building, the minigame stuff, the open world Ubi Tower bullshit, cut that shit. If you're gonna do the 2 character thing, make switching the core aspect. Don't lean so hard into the choose your way to play idea that you leave people in this state where they have to figure everything out. While choice in games can be great, Ubisoft as a company cannot be blind to the fact that the growing amount of choice in AC games has had a continuous correlation to their games failing. Black Flag sees you given the choice of movement, which led to people wasting extra time bloating over the high seas, getting slowed down by random encounters. It didn't make it a bad game, but go back and play it and tell me that isn't the sloggiest part. Every AC game before that translated you between zones and kept you from wasting time traveling in ways that didn't help you learn the landscape. Origins kept you grounded with a story that guides you through each zone until you finish. Odyssey added back the ships we hadn't seen since 2014, gave a few nice scripted battles, but then gave you a bunch of places you could choose to sail out to, some of which hold pretty good fights and story. Valhalla gave you the choice of what order to take the zones, and then didn't make any connective tissue to affect your interpretations of zones based on that order. You would have gotten a much more coherent story with a linear path and could have constructed the zone capping events to have more variety. While all these things sound good, and in a lot of ways they were good the way they were implemented, I think they lead to this fall off in consistent players across entries. Look at Black Flag. A lot of people consider that sort of the last good real Assassin's Creed game. Now, were the games that came after it functionally worse? I mean, they had a lot of bugs, but really they were much the same. I think the problem with Black Flag that really sent people to stop playing Assassin's Creed is that so much of their time was wasted with this choice of movement that it tired them out. And when you get tired playing a game and then the sequel comes out, why would you go back to that? You spent so much time on Black Flag just getting everything done that you're done now. You want to take a break for a few years. And I honestly think that if Black Flag and Origins had nothing in between them, you would have seen a much higher retention. Not because the games in between didn't make people want to play them. A lot of people, including me, will admit that some of those are pretty good games once they were polished up. But finish Black Flag, slog through that choice of freedom, and then tell me that you want to keep playing the next ones. Because the next ones have much the same issue that the earlier ones did, as they gave you more freedom of choice. You have to traverse this open world, which just wastes your time. And then look at the change from Origins to Odyssey to Valhalla. Each time you are given more option and choice of what to do at every moment, which means that you sit there thinking, I guess I'll do this, or maybe I'll do this, or you want the game to kind of lead you down a path, right? And in ways they do this okay, but in a lot of ways they just give you so many options and you have no idea what you need to do. And so you get tired doing all this shit. And so I understand why no one wants to play Shadows, why no one is excited for Shadows, because if you played through all of Valhalla, you're tired. Sometimes choice is a restriction in itself. If you want a game where you can play a huge warrior with heavy armor that fights off a bunch of enemies, why not enhance that For Honor story mode and make it a real game? Why try to fight for two audiences and deliver a half-baked game for both of them? Do you really think stealth players want to run around a giant map and have RPG elements keep them from performing assassinations? Do action game players want to pay attention to the lighting level in their environment for the inevitably forced stealth sections after slogging through sluggish combat over and over? The combat sucks compared to everything else on the market. The stealth sucks compared to the God Year of 1998. Pick a fucking lane, cut down the side bullshit, make a good fucking game with a clear gameplay focus, and go make some fucking money. Once you're green. Cut out these shitty single-player multi-transactions. We all know what they're for. We understand the slice of the development pie that they fill. These are an incentive for you to make the game take longer so that people will give in and spend $5 on skipping through the slog. Slog is not what story games are supposed to be. These are not live service titles with a quick gameplay loop that provide a reason to do the same thing for months. They're stories. AC Valhalla was, to me, the ultimate overlord of all right opinions, an amazing game at its core. Interesting story, a simple yet well-earned base building mechanic, interesting level designs, multiple unique areas, out-of-animus content that actually felt okay, and historical interest to cap it all off. This game started me down a path to read 8 books on Hadrian's Wall. Shout out to Adrian Goldsworthy and the incestuous circle of Hadrian's Wall researchers, by the way. That's what the AC games have always been to me. A unique look at a historically inspired world that, even though I know isn't accurate, still provides enough accuracy and potential to immerse me into history and let me kill fat cats at the same time. Where did Valhalla go wrong? By the time you finish the game, you're tired of playing it. You're tired of being in this world. You should finish a game feeling refreshed and cathartic, full of achievement, and maybe wanting just a little more. By the time you finished AC1, you were ecstatic and sad and wondering where it went next. Even if you wasted your childhood away collecting feathers, AC2 felt like the end of a Harry Potter book. You just had to play it again over and over until the next one came out. Even with all the weird additions to Brotherhood, Revelations, and 3, there was always this weird feeling of working through an epic that ended precisely when it needed to. At the end of the Odyssey, Odysseus reveals his identity one last time, and before another fight can break out, Athena steps in to make peace with all involved. You're left awestruck by the journey you've been on. The emphasis here is on the cutoff point. Had that fight occurred, you would have felt tired of reading because one extra fight at this point means nothing. The people sitting around listening to Homer prattle on for days and days would have been so fucking tired at the point he brings up a final fight. Starting with Black Flag, all AC games, and most open world Ubisoft games, have taken the feather collecting of AC2 and made it the core game design. Make worlds larger, make completing it require more running around, extend the story with more combat, throw in needless fight scenes that are sometimes cool but usually just filler. Raiding in Valhalla got old after the 20th time you did it, if not even sooner, and unfortunately that's a huge part of the game. Slaughtering simple enemies as you slowly advance into a castle just to have a simple fight yet again, it isn't fun. It's just tedious. And yet I really enjoyed Valhalla until it got to that point where it felt tedious. Had the zones been cut down in size and the story content been a little quicker to jump through, it's a game I would recommend to a lot more people. But like Odyssey and Origins, it's not fun all the way through. Just to comment on them, Syndicate and Unity had this problem too, as did Rogue, but they had way more problems than their gameplay. And so it's hard to consider them in the same issue. And improve your fucking combat. Holy shit. I've said it for years now. Ubisoft can only innovate when they make something brand new. As soon as they're making sequels, they start to slip behind what competitors are doing, and their games start to feel old and dated in their gameplay mechanics. For AC, this has been happening since 2007. They're now years behind what is industry standard in these fluid combat games, which would be fine if these were still stealth action games, but even with Noway being stealth focused, these games have been and are now standard action games. You are expected to hold out in extended combat sequences, and the only way this can be satisfying for players is if your combat feels fluid, focused, and fun. You've already told the world you have at least 2 more AC games in the pipeline, so you better goddamn be working on the combat. Your only other option is to go full Kojima and have the character get immediately shot in the head when they're detected from stealth. And we all know you don't want to make stealth games, okay? Where's Splinter Cell? Huh? Anyway, I don't have much of an emotional attachment to Ubisoft anymore. Back in the golden age of online racism,
New year, new me, now I'm double the racist I used to be.
Ubisoft are my favorite company behind Bungie. They have a wide variety of games I enjoyed every minute of and would spend hours discussing with anyone dumb enough to listen to me. One of my fondest memories was playing the Brotherhood multiplayer with friends at 4 AM because such a simple gameplay loop combo of hide and seek mixed with Naruto running and getting stabbed in the neck meant we could go on until we all passed out, night after night, after the rest of our Halo Reach MLG team had to go to sleep. But like all things, that Ubisoft is gone. All of those companies are gone. The games we loved are still there, waiting to be played yet again, but the people who made them have moved on to greener pastures or found themselves becoming the enemy. The best I can hope for is that Ubisoft gets dissolved and their IPs get distributed to devs who could actually put love and care into making something good with them. I know there are plenty of American or European studios that could, but most likely we'll all be learning Chinese soon to play Splinter Cell, No Skulls and No Bones. Or I'd even be okay with the individual studios splitting off and taking an IP with them to see what they could do. I just want good games. Realistically, Ubisoft will stay afloat for a year or two and get bought out. It's already on the table. Ultimately, I guess I kinda give a shit, but for now I'm rocking that Chinese and that Japanese fleshlight like it's 1936 and things are starting to get all hot and heavy around the East China Sea. At least until American AAA developers as a whole start to remember what makes games good again. Also, this is the model they used for Hades and Odyssey, which should have been a dead giveaway they were going down the drain. Bye!